Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's a.faucheryt here. If you're new, welcome. So today I'm going to be doing my 2 weeks update, or whatever you call it, on my microblading that I had done on November 15th. Today is the 30th. My 2 weeks was November 29th, so it was just yesterday. But I'm just coming on here to film this for you guys and give you a little update on the whole process of the last 2 weeks and why I decided to get my eyebrows microbladed. So it started when I was younger. I used to have very fluffy and natural big brows, and over time going to the wrong ladies doing my brows. They kind of did them however they felt, threading the brows or waxing it. So when I was younger, I wasn't really one that was like, oh, I want it like this or that. I'm just like, give me whatever's gonna look the best. Big mistake. Don't ever do that. If you're young, make sure that you really remember that your brows are with you for life. So if you're plucking them out or always getting them waxed, there is a percentage of the chance that some of those hairs may not grow back. So just make sure that you keep that in mind, and just make sure that you love your brows and that you make sure that you speak up and you say what you want. I know times are so different now, but the good thing about that is that if you made the mistake like me and you kind of let your brows sit in the hands of others, well, this is something that I'm very grateful for, because like I said, after putting my brows in other people's hands, I ended up losing hair. Not losing hair like that way, but they just don't grow back the same. So I feel like I'm more bald, and just not as much hair over in this section, and then throughout it's just really fine. So to me that really bothered me, and I was just so tired of always filling them in when I do my makeup, but I also wanted something that looked very natural, and that's why I went ahead and got microblading done. I know that there's all these other different types of brows that you can get now, like combination brows, blade and shade, microblading, and then the ombre effect. The ombre effect and combination were just a little too strong for me, so I went with microblading. So it's called blade and shade technically. So what I ended up getting was shading in this area where I have less hairs, and then just the typical microblading in the front. And they looked ridiculous at first, but I still love them because I'm like, oh, I have brows now. It kind of reminded me of my like 12-year-old self. But the experience overall, like, so the reason I decided to get them is just because I wanted to have brows again, simple as that. And it just, honestly, the whole time I was kind of thinking like, that would be kind of cool to get done, just never really thought about it. And then literally like the same day I seen it online, I was like, you know what, I want to get this done. So I ended up booking an appointment with this girl, and she's the sweetest girl ever. She made me feel so comfortable, and the procedure and everything was just so easy going, and I felt like my brows were in really good hands because she really listened to me of what I wanted, and she really put a lot of focus in my problem areas of where I felt like my brows needed more work. So I really love that she put in that extra time and energy and focused and made it so that she was focusing on what I really wanted for the outcome of my brows. So going into that, as I mentioned, it was kind of just a last minute decision, and I didn't really do much research. I've heard lots about it. Like I didn't do research, but I did a lot of research on like YouTube and just watching other women's and girls' experience, which was really helpful. I wasn't too concerned about the pain. I don't know why, it just didn't bother me. I didn't think about it. Before going in, I kind of just like, we're just gonna go with it, and that's what I did. And to be completely honest, the pain level was probably, when it was at its highest, I would say a level 4. She did a very good job of using numbing cream. So what she did is she went ahead and we pretty much, I guess it's kind of like measured my brows to align. Like, our faces aren't the same. Like, our brows aren't the same. Sorry, not our faces. Of course our faces are not the same. Our brows aren't the same. They're more like sisters and not twins. So she just did her best at like leveling them out and make them symmetrical, I think the word is, to my face, and just made it really look like they're even though they're not. They're still sisters, not twins. You gotta remember that. So once she did the outline, she then went ahead and put the numbing cream all over my brows, and I sat on there for about 20 to 25 minutes sitting in the numbing cream, so that way I didn't feel anything when she went ahead and started microblading. And to be honest, I didn't feel anything. All you can hear is this very weird sound when she's doing like the hair strokes, and that's about it. And then every time she finished with a brow, she would do one brow and then the other brow, and every time she would finish with one, she would make sure that she's always putting the numbing cream on that one and letting it sit while she works on the other one, or vice versa. So I pretty much always had numbing cream on me, and she went over my brows 3 times with doing the hair strokes, making sure that it's, I guess that's how many times they have to do it. I don't know the exact terminology word for that. They know it. But yeah, so 3 times, and then altogether, it took me about 3 hours in there, only because the girl I went to, she was actually doing it for school. She was practicing, so I decided to go to her. I seen who she was being mentored by, and I really liked her work, so I put a lot of my trust. Once again, I was just saying how like I trusted someone with my brows, and then I ended up like pretty much having like no brows as I got older. But I still do believe that when people go to school for certain things, I believe that they have like a passion for it. So I really believed, and I had really good vibes just by talking to this girl, and she made me feel really good about coming in and everything like that. So I felt very comfortable and confident in her, and I do not regret my decision going. I absolutely love my eyebrows. Today is 11 days after getting them done, and I'm just falling even more in love with them. I can't wait to get my touch up after. I think it's 4 to 6 weeks. In between there, it could be from 4 to 6 or 4 to 8 weeks, depending on how you heal. And that's another thing I want to talk about is I also just got off Accutane 3 weeks prior to getting my eyebrows microbladed. Make your healing process not very good. It could extend your healing process. You can like, what is it called, shed a little bit more, or like the ink might not sit in your brows as good. There's so many things. Every dermatologist kind of gives you different lengths of how long you should wait. From 6 months to a year is recommended, but I'm kind of a rebel that way, and I felt very confident in my body, and I'm very in tune with my body. So I decided to go for it, and I feel like my healing process has been pretty much the same. I guess we're all gonna process different, or heal different, sorry. So I do feel like it is still aligned with how it should be healing, and I don't think that it's being on Accutane 3 weeks prior has any effect on my healing process at all. So everything is looking really good. I will say that my brows were very like red looking afterwards, which you'd see in the pictures. That is not how they looked. A lot redder on camera than they did in person. They weren't that red in person. They were still very dark and like bold, but they've calmed down so much. As you can see right now, I don't have any product on my brows whatsoever. This is them. I don't know if you can see them fully, but there's, sorry about the hairs growing, and I do need to get my eyebrows done, but this is how they look today. And let me just see when I started getting flaky and scabby in my eyebrows on November 19th, which would have been, let me see here on my calendar, so the 15th, the 19th would have been 1, 2, 3, 4, about 4 days after. 1, 2, 3, 4. It would have been the 5th day after getting my eyebrows microbladed, but you don't really count the day that you get it done. So it would have been 5 days, but it was 4 days after getting my eyebrows microbladed that I actually started noticing that they were already kind of getting scabby. So yeah, even now I'm still healing, but it's gotten a lot better, and I think it's just about to be done healing. By the looks of it, it's starting to feel more normal, like my normal brows. I see a little flakes here and there, but not as much as I was, so I feel like it's finally come into how it's gonna look when it's completely done being healed. And like I said, this is just the first time going in and getting them done. You do have to go back 4 to 8 weeks, 4 to 6, 4 to 8 weeks, again, to get a touch-up, and then that's your final touch-up. And then you kind of just go from, after that, after you go for your touch-up, you don't have to go for a touch-up until you feel like you need it again. So you can go a year from then. People typically get their brows retouched up every year, but if you have oily skin, then you might have to go every, maybe twice a year, 6 months. It all depends on your skin. So if you have oily skin, it just makes it so that you have to go in and get it touched up a little more often than someone who has dry skin. I do typically have combination skin, so I guess I will just have to keep you guys updated with how that goes for me. Hello again, and sorry for the poor quality, but I did want to jump on here while I was editing and just kind of explain to you guys the reason you go for a touch-up is because when they first shape your brows, And for a lot of people, the reason why you're going to get your brows done in the first place is because you have problem areas, whether that be your brows are just very light in color, or they are very thin, or they have a lot of empty space, like mine, for example. So the reason why you go in and get your brows done is to fix all those problems that we have and all those concerns. So during the time that your brows are healing, and that 4 to 8 weeks that you're seeing how your brows are developing and shaping and forming, and just really get into how they really are going to look, during that time you're going to be able to notice certain things that you may not like, or maybe some areas where you think that they could put a little bit more of the ink, or just focus more in those certain areas. So I'm just coming on here to explain to you guys that you are going to notice things that you don't like, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. That's actually a really good thing, because when you go back into your retouch up, you can actually get your brow lady to fix those problems for you, and that way she can see, like, hey, for me, for example, I can already tell right now that I'm going to need more focus here. But then again, I'm still healing, so I do need to trust the process and just fully wait and see how my brows look at the end of the whole process of the healing. And I will give it until my full time before I have to go back and get my retouch up, and then I will decide what I need to do more of or less of, and just talk to my brow lady when the time is right. So you just really have to trust the process and give those weeks to really see how your brows come along and what the true look of them are. And I would also recommend always start off by having thinner, like if you're a girl who likes really bushy and you want really bold brows, my recommendation to you is always start smaller, because you can always add and make them look bigger. But once you go big, and say you don't like it and it ends up being too big for you, you can't go back and get those like thinner brows. So I just really wanted to put that out there as well, and make sure that you guys are really putting a lot of thought into the shape that you guys want, and don't go overboard right at the beginning, because you may not like them that thickness or that bushiness. So I would just really make sure that you get a really nice decent size the first time, and see how, because they do shrink. When they first do your brows, they do it so that it looks bigger at first, and they do end up shrinking. Mine didn't. If you look at the photos, mine do not look the same as the photos. So over the time they eventually shrink, and then they go to a more neutralized size, like the size that you're actually wanting to have on your face, not the size that you left the salon with, because those brows are outrageous. You do look a little crazy at first, but like I said, it's all about trusting the process and just waiting it out. And then at your touch up, that is when you talk about all of the things that you feel your brows need more of or less of. So just be patient and wait until you go for your final touch up. Okay. And so I just want to talk a little bit about my aftercare. Another thing to keep in mind is that every technician they have their own aftercare. So you just have to follow by whatever your brow technician tells you. Mine told me to, the first day they put ointment on my brows, after the first few hours, she told me to wipe it off and then just keep dabbing it every few hours with like a really soft cloth material or a cotton pad, and just get it wet with warm to hot water and just dab it over your brows. She didn't tell me to use any ointment or anything like that, so I didn't use that for the whole, and she told me not to get it wet for up to a week. So I didn't get my eyebrows like wet like in the shower for a whole week, so Sunday to the Sunday. I think I even waited till the Monday just to be sure. And then even throughout the second week, I tried my best just not to get them wet, because I do know that the less you get them wet during the healing process, the better the outcome. So I tried my best not to get them wet, and I just did exactly as she told me to do. The instructions were very easy to follow by. I will say it was a little bit annoying when you had to shower and you can't get your brows wet, and like I just avoided, and that's another thing, you can't wear makeup or anything like that either, or like oils on your face for the whole week either. So I avoided everything like that, and I still did my skincare routine, but I just used a cloth and just avoided my brow area, and I just made sure that nothing was able to come in contact with my eyebrows, and I did my very best at doing maintaining them on my end to make sure that they do recover. And yeah, so I think that I did a really good job this whole 2 weeks of keeping them dry and just doing as she said, and I just see amazing results even right now, and I just can't wait till I go and get my final touch up and see how they actually look once that's done. I did get the microblading plus the shading, I think it's called, let me see again. So I got the blade and shade technically. So what happens is she shaded in this area over here where my most problem area was, and then kind of just did the typical microblading everywhere else. I will make sure that I add in a photo of what I'm talking about while I'm talking about this right now. And then yeah, if you guys have any questions for me at all, you can always leave a comment down below, or you can reach me on my Twitter account, which is @a.faucheryt, the same as my YouTube channel. So you can always reach me there if you have any questions, or just leave a comment down below. I didn't really document like a physical video like this one throughout the 2 weeks, so I am just going off of the top of my head. I hope that I have covered everything for you guys. And another thing actually that you guys might be curious about is how much did it cost. Well, the thing is every microblader is different. They charge different prices depending on where you go, location, and everything like that, their experience. Where I ended up going, they charge roughly around $450, and that includes a touch-up. Where other places, they might charge you $450 and the touch-up may not be included in your price. So just make sure that you're keeping an eye on that as well, and just really do your research of who you go to, because at the end of the day, if you're someone who cares a lot about having the perfect brows, you do want to make sure that someone that you trust, you're putting your brows into their hands and that they do a good job, right? So just make sure that you do your research. There's so many girls that are doing microblading and brows, and there's so many techniques. So if you want something like the ombre brows or the combination brows or the shade and the blade and shade like what I got, or just the typical microblading, which is the less like bold one, it's more of a natural look, which is something that I wanted. I would say the more bolder looks are definitely like more of the ombre and the combination. So I decided to go with the blade and shade because I didn't want it to look like I had my brows done when I have no makeup on, and I didn't want it to make it look like I did my brows but not the rest of my face. So I wanted something that's gonna go with regardless of how I look. So if I'm just sitting at home on the couch, it'll still look nice, like I have brows, but it's not gonna look like I've overdone myself. And like I said, I'm not hating on anyone that has gone and got the combination or the ombre. I'm just speaking of my own personal preference. And yeah, so don't think that I'm hating or coming at you if your opinion is different and you decide to go with a different type of brow. I think they're all absolutely beautiful, but just on me personally, I want to go with something that was a little more natural. And that way as well, because over time brow trends are always switching up. So I also wanted something that I could, if I needed to, I could switch to whatever the new trend is if I wanted to, where I feel like if I was to get the combination and the ombre, which is a little more bolder, that one's kind of a tricky one to switch over into the new trend. So I just wanted something that can kind of work with me for like the rest of the time that I have it. And yeah, so if I do end up, when I get my brows retouched up, I will make sure that I film another video and show you guys how that went as well. That will be my last and final update on that, and then obviously you'll just see my brows throughout the time while I post on YouTube. So I hope that this video answered all your questions or any concerns that you may have had about microblading or just brows in general. I really appreciate you watching, and if you like this video and would like to see more from me, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, comment, and share. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.